And I had customers early on buy DOD motors like 6.2s or 5.3s, put a Camaro pan on it without the DOD regulator, fire it up on a cold morning, and crunch, there goes their lifters. So of course they've got that pretty much ironed out, and almost all the pans now that you find from GM are coming through with DOD regulators, including the LS3 pans. But I would still say go for an L96, go for an LY5, go for an LH6, go for an LS3. These motors do not have AFM. And the flip side of the AFM lifters is they work excellent as long as you keep them within a factory tune. Once you start revving up past 5,800, 6,000 RPM, they are susceptible to failure. So if you want to put a hot rod cam in it or turn the rev limiter up to 6,000 plus, don't run an AFM engine. You run an AFM engine the way it's designed, never going to have an issue. I believe that a 6-liter iron motor is an excellent choice for a JK that is heavy. You want to run regular gas, you want an inexpensive engine that'll run for hundreds of thousands of miles, get the 6.0 L96. You have a light JK, a 2-door, plastic fenders, plastic bumpers, get a 5.3. Get an LMG, get an LC9, get an LH6, get an LY5. Any of them will work. You want performance, you want it to sound a little bit like a Corvette, you want an all aluminum lightweight engine, get an LS3. I think it's my favorite engine right now. You want to be technical, you want to get the latest and greatest, and you don't care about the growing pains. And we have not had a failure in a Gen 5 yet, but get a Gen 5 motor. You're going to be getting slight improvements in economy. I would say you're going to get not significant, but a noticeable improvement in economy if driven lightly. If you're lightly loaded, you're not heavy on the throttle, you're going to see maybe 5-10% better mileage with a Gen 5. If you're a lead foot, you're wheeling, you're under a load, you're going 80 miles an hour with a fully loaded Jeep, you're not going to see much improvement over the LS3 just because of physics. It takes X amount of energy to move X amount of weight, and the LS3 is pretty darn efficient when it's under a load. This will be the last test drive in this 2015 Rubicon with an LS3. It's performed excellent. I put some extra miles on this Jeep because it does have our new accessory drive, billet, aluminum, AC bracket, etc. on it, and it's performed perfect. With our new billet accessory drive going back to the JK accessories, we will be able to support our kits with minimal amount of parts exchange. Now, for years we've used the customer air conditioning lines in our kits because it saves money. Now we can supply you with new air conditioning lines if you like, but with a new billet accessory drive you won't need to send us your AC lines. There's no power steering line modifications. You won't need to send us your cluster, your shifter. We can supply a tuner if you would like, so you don't have to send us your Jeep computer. We're still sorting through that, but we do have that ability now, which basically means there will be no parts have to be shipped to us at all. Now, on the Pentastar JKs, we do not have the can fully functional, so there's still going to be some parts on the Pentastar JKs, especially with the automatic air conditioning, but that's going to go away real soon too. We've really come a long way, and I hope by the end of 17 we can put a kit in a box and ship it with no customer parts required. Now it all comes down to cost. We can support you with no parts supplied right now, but if you want to save a few dollars, we can use your parts. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm really excited about the billet accessory drive because it's going to bring us back to not only where we began, but to where I believe the JK not performs the best, but it makes the swap easier. It uses more of the OE components. More of these parts are off the shelf. You don't have to cut and modify the frame. You don't have to run an aftermarket compressor. You don't have to, not that there's anything wrong with that. I actually do a lot of swaps that way, but it's more work. And what we're trying to do is get this as efficient as possible. These billet brackets are awesome, and not only do they look good, they perform good. I've really been impressed with how quiet, how smooth this Jeep has performed. and I've had it in the cold temperatures, and it got a little bit warm out. So I'm really looking forward to releasing the billet aluminum accessory drive brackets. And the itinerary for the brackets is the truck brackets are basically done. We will hopefully be shipping the production ones in the next couple of weeks for you customers who have been waiting for them. We will upgrade an earlier swap, and we will discount the brackets. These brackets are not cheap to manufacture, so we will discount them for you if you have a current kit. And the LS3 drive is almost done. As you know, I'm driving an LS3 drive right now. It is a prototype, but essentially it's going to be the same as our production brackets. We had to sort out the stretch belt lengths and make it so that literally the customer throws a couple of bolts in, tightens it down, no alignment, no special knowledge required. We don't run the trigger wheels anymore, so the motors are completely stock. You can run a Corvette balancer, you can run a motor with VVT. VVT motors have an additional solenoid in the timing cover, which means you must run an offset balancer like a Camaro or a truck. You can run any accessory drive you want, from the Corvette to the Camaro and truck, and we will support it. Now, our billet accessory drive does use the truck offset because that does support VVT, and most of these engines are VVT, meaning the L94, the L9H, the L92, the LC9, the LMG, the 6-liter truck engines, the LY6, the L96, the LC8. They're all VVT motors, so we're going to be sticking with that. GM just lowered the price on the truck balancer to about $60 from $120-ish. So that makes it a little bit easier. If you do get a crate LS3 motor, you can pick up a balancer for about $60, and then pick yourself up a Camaro SS water pump. You can get the Camaro SS water pump in two different ways from Delco, and I do suggest you buy a Delco. You can buy basically the water pump itself, and you can get those off Rock Auto for about $70. Or you can buy the complete water pump, which comes with a new thermostat, hardware, gaskets, but you're going to be spending about $125, $130 for that. So you might as well just get the housing if you have a new crate motor, and use the other components that you have. You may have to get hardware, I'm not sure, but you're still going to save yourself about $50, $60. So we're going to be going back to the JK drive on the Gen 4 trucks and LS3s. We're going to keep the GM drive as an option. We're not going to drop that. There are applications, especially with like the supercharged LSA. We're going to be doing some LT1s, LT4s, and then the Gen 5 motors. And really in the Gen 5 motors, we're using the stock compressor and alternator and adding a power steering pump. And we will offer a billet bracket for the power steering pump. We're using a steel one right now, which works just fine. And that's going to be the third thing on our itinerary after the trucks are in production. The LS3s are in production, and the Gen 5s will be in production. And then we're going to support both Gen 5 configurations. That includes the LT1 and the truck, the L83 and the L86. So we'll pretty much cover all the applications. Now, we may or may not fit the JK accessories to the LT motors. The LT motors have a very powerful alternator that is pretty much plug and play with the operating system, and you end up having properly controlled voltage. So we may just make that an option where we put the JK alternator in there if you want to use your JK alternator on the LT accessories, but that has not been done yet. We may do that in the future. The Gen 5s run a vacuum pump, and we're looking at options there. The vacuum pumps work just fine. It is an extra accessory. It's driven off of a third groove on the balancer with a 3-groove belt. So by all measure, it works just fine, and it does have the advantage of giving you more brake boost at low RPM if you're crawling. The water pumps on the Gen 5 motors are not in the center like on the Gen 4s, which is a good thing because then it gives you more fan clearance. And when we talk about fans, let's talk about those for 1 second. We can support the 2-speed single wound JK fan that they used from 7 to 11. That's a DC brushed motor basically, and it's only got a single winding. They get 2 speeds, by running a voltage divider or resistor and then dropping the voltage down to run it at low speed. It's a really budget fan. It's not sealed. It's about 2,500 CFM. So it's a good fan for everyday use. Plan on changing it every couple of years. They do wear out. The brushed motors don't last as long as the brushless motors, and being that they're not sealed means water can get in and debris. So they only cost $75 to $100 in the aftermarket, and we can support that fan, and we have supported that fan for many years, and we have full control on the temperature. It is a discrete fan, which means it's on and off. You have low and high. We can support the Pentastar fan, which is a great fan, and the Camaro SS fan. We find the Camaro SS and the Pentastar fans perform very similar. We can drive the variable speed on the Pentastar and the Camaro fan. You have to tell us which because the tuning is different.